Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, February 9th, 2026 will please come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Colleagues, Heidi Cater,
Here.
Sheila Pryor,
Here.
Alicia Little,
Here.
Faraz Bendy,
Here.
Valentina Ayers,
Here.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra is present. Nolan Sahoni,
Present.
Chase Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a quorum. Please rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to the second regular board meeting of the year. We are glad you could join us this evening. If you wish to speak during the audience opportunity to address the board, please fill out a form placed at the back of the room and hand it over to our district admin assistant, Amy, sitting to my right. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed as a consent agenda item and addressed. The consent agenda items are listed in the materials. The recommended action is to approve the agenda and the consent agenda items. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
Colleagues, Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Faraz Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Nolan Sahoni.
Yes, we have an agenda. Thank you, Dan. The next item on our agenda is reports from organizations. This section of the agenda provides an opportunity for a Wayzata High School Student Council representative to report on information and events at Wayzata High School. I would like to invite Rachel Lynn, Student Council Vice President from Wayzata High School, to please come forward. Welcome, Rachel.
Good evening, Superintendent Anderson, members of the board, and everybody else gathered here tonight. My name is Rachel, the Wayzata High School Student Body Vice President, and as the season of love dawns upon us, here is February's monthly report. We're now 2 weeks into the new semester, and students are shifting into new classes or perhaps continuing old ones. There's no turkey waiting to be stuffed, but there's much to be thankful for as Student Council kicks off our Staff Appreciation Week. Students hang up notes of gratitude on the doors of every staff member that makes the Trojan experience the Trojan experience. In a similar vein, make sure to stop by our brand new gratitude tree in Upper Commons. Students write notes on leaves detailing kind notes, showing that even the smallest actions create positive impact. So I want to take this time to thank you. I imagine making decisions on behalf of 13,000 K-12 students isn't exactly the easiest, but we appreciate you. It's clearer than ever that Wayzata is a AAA threat, excelling across academics, athletics, and arts. As Trojans prepare to compete on the grand stage, they must jump over the first hurdle, regionals. Band played beautifully at their solo/ensemble festival and sent 15 people to regionals. In DECA and BPA, our flagship career-oriented clubs, over 350 qualifications to their respective state competitions were made total. Meanwhile, the Science Olympiad varsity team won first place. Wayzata Speech placed first overall at the tournament at Orono and just hosted over 1,000 competitors on campus for one of the biggest speech tournaments in the state. Both the JV and varsity girls basketball are undefeated, and our dance team placed first in kick and second in jazz at sections. Let's keep the momentum up as the grass gets greener and the days grow longer. Finally, our Student Council Fusion hosted its first leadership exchange with St. Michael Albertville High School. Students from STMA bussed over to our high school campus, where we gave them a tour of our facilities and exchanged ideas on how to build culture and improve our communities. Because the thing is, change is an aggregate of small steps forward. Yes, we can throw elaborate homecoming dances, shoot as many pouches of yellow and blue powder at innocent crowds of people as we want. But it's easy to forget that sometimes simply our presence offers meaning as well. So gather some people, show up at a sports game to remind our athletes that they were appreciated. Attend Bright Star, our 9 to 10 musical set in the Appalachian Mountains that is opening next week. After all, building community starts with each and every one of us. Thank you for your time tonight, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm now open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Rachel. Congratulations to all the winners in all the events and everything else. So, colleagues, any questions, comments?
I'm just going to make another comment. Your presentations are getting better every single time. I love hearing it. Thank you for embodying the excellence that Wayzata is.
Yeah, of course.
All right, no questions, comments. Thank you, Rachel. We'll see you again next month.
Yep, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is recognitions, and I will request Director Bhende to join Superintendent Anderson at the podium.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our school board meeting tonight. My name's Chase Anderson. I'm the superintendent for the school district, and it's always my honor to convene the recognitions portion of our school board meeting. Tonight, we're going to start off with our employees of the month, and we have two who are being recognized this evening, and I see both are in attendance, and I would like to invite Jeanette Sanders and Christina Liebeck to please come forward. Congratulations. I'm going to share a script that was prepared on their behalf, and then we'll take an opportunity for a photo to ensure that we capture the moment for your scrapbooks. The Early Learning School is excited to nominate Jeanette Sanders and Christina Liebeck as the February Employees of the Month. Jeanette Sanders is one of the district's family liaisons and consistently goes above and beyond for our families. She works so well with all of our district teams to connect families with the resources they need. She is a light in the darkness for families that are struggling, and we all would be lost without her. Jeanette is such an outstanding partner to our families and staff alike. She is incredibly generous and resourceful and goes the extra mile to ensure families have every opportunity available to them. Most importantly, she does her job with genuine warmth and acceptance, making all feel welcome and heard. As our special education social worker, Christina Liebeck is extremely dedicated to advocating for our students and families. She goes above and beyond to ensure that they are treated with dignity and respect while providing direct intervention, consultation with families, and connection with resources to help meet their needs. She is also a caring colleague and an active listener to those around her. Christina works tirelessly on behalf of all families, consistently ensuring they have access to critical resources and support for their basic needs. She is a calm, steady presence, even in challenging situations, and families trust her guidance. In addition to that, Christina's dedication, compassion, and reliability make a meaningful difference every day, and her impact is felt across our early learning school community. Please join us in congratulating Jeanette and Christina on this well-deserved recognition and thanking them for their unwavering dedication to our students, families, and the entire early learning school community. Congratulations. Again, congratulations. And our next employee of the month is from our transition school, and I would like to invite Effie Kakel to please come forward. Congratulations, Effie. And again, I'll share a nice script that was put together highlighting the great work that Effie does at our transition school. Wayzata Transition proudly selects Effie Kakel as one of the February Employees of the Month. As a special education paraprofessional and job coach, she is a critical team member whose ability in supporting all students, meeting them where they are, and encouraging students to continue to grow helps Wayzata Transition in many important ways. Effie consistently brings a genuine positive attitude to her work, no matter the circumstance, situation, or student she is supporting. She is always willing to take on challenges and approaches her role with professionalism and leadership, representing both her team and community partnerships at the highest standard. She builds meaningful rapport with every student she works with, always treating them with respect and never complaining, even in challenging moments. Her commitment to a growth mindset is evident as she actively supports student growth and independence, helping them develop skills with confidence. She has a genuine desire to understand what students are communicating and consistently goes the extra mile, even by learning new languages and songs to connect more deeply. Maybe she'll sing a song for us here in a little bit. You good with not doing that? Okay. Just wanted to ask. You never know. Effie is kind and creates a positive environment for both students and colleagues. From her creativity to her ability to stay composed and professional in all situations, Effie brings both joy and stability to the team. She builds strong, meaningful relationships through her work across transition programming. From the transition location to the Hennepin Technical College campus and beyond, she connects with each student as an individual, supporting them with care, patience, and respect. Congratulations to Effie for being named one of the February Employees of the Month. We're grateful for your dedication and the positive impact you make each and every day. Congratulations. And our next, and I think final recognition for this evening is to announce the names of those who have indicated their intent to retire since our last school board meeting. It's not uncommon that the February meeting has the longest list because there's kind of this February 1st magic date when employees intending to retire will often submit their names to our Human Resources Department. So we have a fairly lengthy list. Looks like about 15 names here that I'm going to read, and I'll announce their name and indicate which building they were a part of and for how many years of service they provided to the school district. First, Barbara Bisey, Assistant Activities Director at the high school, serving 30 years. Christine Bradbury, paraprofessional at Northwoods, 19 years. Lynn Demaray, teacher at Sunset Hill, 26 years. Ann Fehrenbach, teacher at the District Service Center, 15 years. Julie Hadani, teacher at Plymouth Creek, 9 years. Marla Lewis, unaffiliated District Service Center, 22 years. Teresa Lockler, paraprofessional, Meadow Ridge, 27 years. Mary Mackesy, principal at Gleason Lake Elementary, 36 years in the district. Kristen Nelson, paraprofessional at Wayzata High School, 14 years. Sarah Pinsky-Check, teacher at Plymouth Creek, 27 years. Lori Schultz, teacher, Plymouth Creek, 27 years. Belinda Stutzman, technology integration specialist, 18 years. Tom Walfred, paraprofessional, Wayzata High School, 20 years, and Ross Williams, principal at Sunset Hill Elementary School, 11 years. I don't think any of these individuals are here tonight, but we'll provide them with a round of applause in honor of their work. We greatly appreciate their years of service and know that their contributions will continue to make an impact through the coming years, and just know that we appreciate their work a great deal. So with that, that concludes our recognitions for this evening, and we thank you for being here tonight, and thanks for all your great work. Appreciate it.
Congratulations to the honorees. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, and thank you, Paras. Okay, moving on to the school spotlight presentation. Tonight, the spotlight is on early learning and transition schools. I'll turn it over to Dr. Anderson for the introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, those in attendance this evening. We're pleased to welcome the Early Learning School and the Wayzata Transition Program this evening for our February School Spotlight presentation. Michelle Bador, our Director of the Early Learning School, and Alana Walsh, Supervisor at Wayzata Transition, are with us to share an update on their school growth plans. They will also highlight how their teams are partnering and thoughtfully support meeting the needs of students. Thanks for being here tonight. We look forward to your presentations. Thank you.
Superintendent Anderson and School Board, thank you for having us tonight. I hope you enjoy our combined program from our early learning to our transition program. We wanted to start by giving you just a little bit of an overview of each program, and then we have some of our colleagues here who are going to share more details about our combined programming. So with that, I'll start off. I did early learning by the numbers for you, just so you could get an idea. We have, and these are a day in time because our numbers are shifting every day, constantly enrolling and starting new students practically every day. Our friends in the back are in our front office, and they're getting a ton of phone calls. So we have 360 students in our part-day preschool, 178 in our full-day. Our early childhood family ed has about 177 students and parents coming together. Our early childhood screening program sees about 800 to 1,000 screens per year. And then I broke down the birth to 3, 3 to 5, and speech special ed numbers for you in that last column. Though the sites are listed below that, and then how many classrooms about are assigned to those. We have some crossover. And then the number of staff working in each program. So we have about 125 staff across all of those programs in the early learning school. So those are our numbers. This is our enrollment history, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I know it's been presented a couple of times, but you will see we peaked in 21-22 and have kind of shifted downward a little bit since then. You will notice that because we had taken advantage of some elementary classrooms that were freed up, and so we programmed there, and as those have gotten a little bit tighter, that's why you've seen a decline in our enrollment. So those are mostly in our full day and school day program that are no longer in the elementary sites. With that, I'll talk a little bit about our school growth plan. We started out at the Built Institute and talking about all things data for little people. We settled on 2 teaching strategies gold objectives. The first one is 19A, which is learning to write your name. The second one is solving social problems. And then the third one is we focused on our staff incorporating the basic needs work into the sense of belonging for children and families. We went with 100% as our goal for this year, and that was purposeful. Our team had a lot of discussions about if we went with 80%, which 20% of kids would we be leaving out? And we decided we weren't leaving any kids behind. So we went with 100% of all the kids will be at their age expectations by spring. We have been, the team has been working with all of our staff. We did a big event on October 15th during MEA, and we tried to hone in on what is the experience and the learning that we want for our students at the early learning school. I'm not going to read it to you because I know you all can read, and I know you have a packed agenda, but this is what we've come up with as a team, and that included all of our staff gathering that information.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about transition, which is the other end of our educational system. So thank you for having me, Mr. Chair, Dr. Anderson, and school board members. So the Wayzata transition, we're going to talk a little bit. It was founded in 2019 with 14 students. At that time, it was located at a different site, and then we quickly grew and added another site where we were partnering with Hennepin Technical College campus as well. And then in the fall of 2023, we moved to the former district admin building, and that's where we've been ever since. We have over 40 students, and next year we're planning to have close to 50 students. And transition is for students who have completed their 4 years of high school but have not yet received their high school diploma. It prepares students to become confident, employed adults who live independently as possible and contribute to the vitality of our community. And all of the students here are young adult learners, ages 18 through 22. The cornerstone of instruction at transition is around the portrait of a Wayzata graduate. And there's a 3-year cycle that at transition intentionally focuses on specific characteristics within that portrait of a graduate. Each and every student is learning also and practicing the skills in the 3 areas of transition, which is independent living, employment, and post-secondary education. We support mental health throughout the day and in a variety of ways as well. And this year, our focus within mental health is specifically on how to access community resources and how to respond in a crisis, whether that's a personal one or a crisis of others. So thinking of our school growth plan, and when we met at Built as well, using the portrait of a graduate as the foundational framework, we focused on the valuing diversity inclusion, embracing collaboration, and communicates effectively. And then the school growth plan was created within that, knowing how all those areas intersect with employment, post-secondary education, and independent living. So we've done a variety of different things to get at this, similar to the conversation had at the early learning school. We also said 100% of students because, again, we're not going to leave anyone behind. So you can see here kind of what our goals are focusing on for this school year. This isn't new to you all, but we had a lot of conversation a few years ago about the portrait of a graduate and how it's no different if you're graduating from the high school, if you're graduating from transition. The skills are still the same. We are just practicing those skills in employment, independent living, and post-secondary education. So when we think about that, we think about then how can this portrait be seen from when you enter into our system all the way to when you graduate, however old that may be for you. And so I would love to showcase a fantastic partnership that happened really organically between the early learning school and transition. So we're going to turn it over to Jerry Klein, who's the transition work coordinator, and Christina Liebrecht, the school social worker, and Jeanette Sanders, as well as the district family liaison, to talk about how these 2 programs have partnered together.
Which one do we sit in? Good evening, everyone. Get on the right slide. Okay, so as Alana was just mentioning, the portrait of a graduate, something that's really important is our collaboration for our students to work on those independent living skills, the employment skills, and how we can best serve them from where they are now to where that they can be in the future. So we came together last year because there was a need in the district from both levels of how can we support each other as we're working to build these student skills as well as helping our families in the community. So what we did is we created a clothing closet that our students can support those early learning families through sorting, organizing, restocking donated clothing that has come into the district. Students practice those job skills such as data entry, advertisement, inventory management, organization, teamwork, customer service within the career pathways identified through the CTE cluster wheel. That is very important.
And the early learning school staff help identify the family needs and connect those families to the closet. In some cases, our services are in the community, so our Birth to Three staff sometimes will bring items from the closet out to the homes. The clothing's provided at no cost, and we really encourage the word shopping when the families come so that they can use the space with dignity. And everyone has access to it. It's not limited to income. There are no screeners. If you're walking past, you're welcome to come in. The highlights this year alone, starting in September, we have had 312 items of clothing, 54 packs of diapers, 154 children's coats, 62 pairs of snow pants, 43 pairs of snow boots, and 639 food items.
This is our why, excellence for each and every. We create a win-win. Families receive needed resources and the students gain hands-on experience that builds confidence, responsibility, employment skills. The impact of collaboration, we support families with essential clothing and diapers for young children. We provide meaningful real work experience for the transition students, and we promote inclusion, independence, and community engagement.
So we have also found ways to extend these partnerships beside or beyond the clothing closet. We have transition students that are working, oops, I'm sorry, double up here. We have transition students that are out in the community picking up lost and found items from other elementary schools. We have students organizing materials, setting up activities for classroom teachers, cleaning and resetting spaces.
They also assist with our seasonal and special events. So we have a food shelf, a diaper drive, a winter clothing drive, as well as we create activity packs for families who maybe aren't leaving the area during those big vacation times.
And some of those essential workplace skills that we work on at the building are age-appropriate interactions, social interactions, responsibility in a community-based setting, communication, flexibility, following routines, data tracking, teamwork, and time management, all important.
Mm-hmm. Other community partnerships that happened organically just by opening up the Trojan Care Closet was being joined by St. Philip's of the Deacon, Yellowbrook Road Early Childhood Development Center, Interfaith Outreach, and Every Meal.
Here are some beautiful pictures of our students working at the clothing closet. We have some videos in action.
Nope, I'm not, I promise. Good job, Ishan.
Think would fit. Yeah, what do you think? Or you try not to look at one that you can't look at them if you have them in the bundle. Why don't we do this? There's lots of socks. Did you have to sort all these out? Yeah. That's a lot of work. You think she'd like these ones? The baby? Mm-hmm. You put those in my bag too, please? Thank you. This is big. For a newborn? Yeah, kind of.
I like to help clients by getting their items and telling them, "Hi, bye, have a good day, and what are you doing this weekend?" Not much.
Whoops. And then here you see some pictures of the students that are helping, and then those extended partnerships. They're not quite ready to be welcoming others at the clothing closet, but they are able to assist and work on those essential work skills back in the building, or going out and communicating with others at the elementary school as they're picking up those lost and found items.
So the benefits of the partnership is to expand the authentic work experience for the transition students and support the Wayzata early learning staff through their program needs, build student confidence, independence, and employment skills, and strengthens inclusive cross-program collaboration within and throughout the district.
I think with that, we are open.
Any
to
questions?
Yeah, thank you so much for presenting this. Questions, comments? Hi, Alicia.
I love this so much. I've heard about all of the help that you guys do with the closets, and wondering, as a community member, and I'm also maybe thinking about a stash of clothes that I should have gone through a long time ago because my youngest kiddos are in middle school. Do you accept donations from the community? And I see those top items like snow pants and snow boots and things like that. Is there like a way families can see what you're really needing at any given time?
We do accept donations. At this point, we're just having donations for the littler kids because our space isn't too big. But yeah, we do accept those. There's a drop off by the front office, and then at the early learning school, and then transition picks up different places. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good. That's motivation. I need to dig in and get through that stuff. Thank you.
No, great. I had the same question. What about donations? In the sense, not the things, but monetary donations. Do you accept those, or is it just goods at this time?
We would love that. It's a big discussion.
Yeah, and
At this time, we're not able
okay,
to accept those.
yeah, and I was trying to look up the name, and it didn't pop up anywhere. So that's where I was wondering again. So it's internal organization, if you will. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a really good insight. I don't think we've thought about putting it out on the website, so we'll be working with our HR program soon.
Okay.
But I do think that's a great way to get it out. It's in every one of our newsletters that goes out to the families, as well as our staff newsletter that comes out every Friday.
Okay.
And then we have signs posted around the building.
Okay.
Yep.
And is that the same notification that goes to all parents through Parent Square? Okay.
Yeah, I would say all parents in early childhood.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I don't think it's restricted. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Are you thinking about doing broader distribution or not at this time?
Yes. There is conversations with Solvay about a broader.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for being here tonight. I love seeing kind of the bookends of our system together. I don't know, it does something to see the whole system together. I know how incredible and how much work it can be to sort items and to go home feeling tired, like you've had a full day of effort. Tell me about how our transition students are feeling at the end of the day. What's your observation?
I can tell you this is one of their favorite places to go. They feel a sense of accomplishment. They might have, they help set up the closet. And when they go to the closet to work, there might be a basket there of clothing that needs to go out, so they can see, the beginning of their shift, they have this stuff to do. And then by the end, they've folded, they've sorted, they've, accomplished the organizational piece. Having staff at Early Learning Center that are amazing and welcoming, and then having all of the guests that come and shop there also is just a sense of accomplishment. You're helping others. The middle video you watched, one of our students was helping a staff member bag diapers and clothing for their family. So just really feeling that sense of accomplishment that you're helping others and they see their work and they love the closet. So, yeah.
Well, thank them on my behalf, please.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for presenting this. I have two questions. Sorry if I missed it. How old is this program?
It's exactly 1 year old, actually.
Okay.
We proposed this to our supervisors and opened in February. It was a soft launch, I suppose. We weren't expecting actually to be able to get it up and running that quickly. Jenny Ebert cleaned out one of the closets, literally one of the storage, and you cleaned out the closet actually, but she gave us access to it and the shelving, and then all the donations, and we filled it mostly with some of the items from the lost and found that had been laundered by the transition students. So this is our 1 year, our 1 year anniversary.
Good. Congratulations. It's a win-win. I'm sorry, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
I was just going to add, we started working because they were collecting donations and washing them and bringing them over to IOCP, but we had the need to get those clothes or things out to families immediately rather than going over to IOCP. So that's why we just kind of collaborated and thought, what can we do to get these items to our families faster?
So every project usually starts with a goal. Have you, what's your sense of having achieved the goals you started with, goals you started with at the beginning of the year? Where do you think you are?
I don't know what microphone to speak into. Which one do you want to
No,
start?
I just want to say, we want to do this throughout the district. So a big goal is we started early learning and then hopefully within the elementary schools and middle schools too. So the middle schools were like, hey, you guys are doing that. Tell us how you got started and we'd like to do it too. And can we use transition? So, that like they said, there's only 40 kids in their transition school. So we haven't quite figured out all of that. But yeah, a big goal would be to do that throughout the whole district.
And one quick question again, final question. So I know that our family is usually looking for help when we have to organize things and organize the closet and everything. Are these experiences ending in results where they are employed? The transition students are getting employment from this experience?
These are stepping stones. So our students, we want each and every to have every ability to be independent and to have employment opportunities. So these are students that are working on those social skills, working on those organization skills, working on independence. So, and they're doing that through the stepping stone of a smaller location, such as the clothing closet. And then we partner with different businesses in the community to build those employment skills also. So we look at it as, where the student is, what their goal is, and what they're building on. And every student is meeting goals.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you for coming and
Thank you for having us.
all right. Next is the audience opportunity to address the board. Amy, do we have any speakers tonight? None. Okay, so I'm going to skip that. And we will move on to the next item, which is the administrative reports and recommendations. First, the superintendent report. Dr. Anderson will present 2 board policies for approval and 2 for sunsetting. Dr. Anderson?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, before you this evening are some policy actions. The first document indicates that there are policies for your review following the work that our policy committee did. The policies and regulations were reviewed as part of the regular cycle and using the Minnesota School Board Association model policy by district administration and other district stakeholders were necessary. A final review was completed by the policy committee of the school board, and policy approvals recommended are for 524.5 personal electronic communication devices and 904 political election campaign materials. And the recommended action for this item is to approve the above policies as presented in the attachments. And just as a reminder, I know the board's well versed on this, but for the larger community, we do have a policy committee that meets monthly, most generally, and reviews policies and has a lot of conversation regarding those prior to their coming to the board for approval. So that's the recommended action for these.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. So board colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the board policies as presented. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so moved. Do I need to waive the second reading as well? I would like to waive the second reading.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
I'll just say something quickly because I'm on the policy committee. Just a clarification that policies 918 and 910 are being sunsetted, but that's because they're being incorporated into policy 904. So we're not really losing anything. We're just combining them. And policy 524.5, the electronic communications devices, this is us putting in the middle school cell phone policy officially. So just wanted to, everybody read it already, so.
So this recommendation is for sunsetting as well as approving.
No, that would be a second item. Yep.
Thank you, Sheila. So again, the recommended action is to, I'm sorry, did I miss anyone? No. Recommended action is to approve the board policies as presented. This is a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion passes. Now we move on to the next two policies. Dr. Anderson.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, the additional policy-related action item tonight is actually for sunsetting a couple of policies, as has just been indicated. The policies and regulations were reviewed, again, as part of the regular review cycle, and oftentimes using the Minnesota School Board Association model policies, if and when those are available, reviewed by district administration and other stakeholders within the district. A final review was completed by the policy committee, and the recommended action is for sunsetting the above policies as presented in the attachments, and those are 918 political election campaign materials and 910 distribution and posting of promotional literature.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. So board colleagues, the recommended action for these is to approve the sunsetting of the board policies as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? Have your light on, Dan? You want to say something? Okay. Hearing none. This is also a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion passes. Next, we have our election clerk, Amy Geis, announcing the emergency polling location change and seeking approval of two resolutions. Amy?
Thank you, Dr. Anderson and school board members. The first item before you is just a notification. You don't have to take any action. We approved, or you approved in December, the combined polling locations for our 2026 election, and one of those polling locations is no longer available to us. So we are taking the Fourth Baptist polling location and combining it at Plymouth Community Center. There'll be two polling locations located at that venue, which is what the city does during all regular voting cycles. So very familiar with it. Just to let you know that that's happening. All voters that have been affected with the polling location change will get a notice within the next month before voting starts. The second item before you is the appointment of the absentee ballot board. You might have a little deja vu because it's the same action you took last year. The same members will serve as the absentee ballot voting board. So recommended action is before you.
Thank you, Amy. So, board colleagues, the recommended action is to adopt, as presented, the resolution appointing absentee ballot board election judges for the general election on April 14th, 2026. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. This is a roll call vote. Clerk.
Colleagues, Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendick,
Yes.
Millen Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you.
The next action before you is the election judge hourly pay. Again, a little bit of deja vu. Nothing has changed from last year, but it does require your approval for the 2026 election cycle.
Thank you again.
Recommended action before you.
Thank you again, Amy. Recommended action then is to approve the 2026 hourly rate for election judges. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote again, Dan.
Colleagues, Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Millen Zahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Okay, there is no teaching and learning report today, and so we'll move on to the finance and operations report presented by Executive Director Trevor Peterson. Trevor will first present the combined financial reports for the month ended December 31st. Is that right? 31st, 2025. Trevor.
Good evening, Chair Sahoni, members of the board, Dr. Henderson. This month's combined financial reports, we look at year-to-date activity through December 31st to 2025. As has been the case for many months in a row, there are no real surprises or large discrepancies from what we might see at any beginning year or to the budget that we have established in the preliminary budget. Just a reminder, too, that we have started working on a revised budget that will come forward to the board in the coming months. So some of these, there are definitely always things that we look at that will be reflected in a revised budget, but for the most part, everything is in line where we would expect it to be. One thing I do want to point out, we do have a new schedule that is in the packet. It has been discussed at prior board meetings as well as at the finance committee of the board about maybe a little bit more clarification as to some of the adjustments that we're seeing in our restricted fund balances that are making the revenue versus expenditures look a little skewed, maybe from what we is a true picture or accurate picture. So in this document, it's the second page and it's one that we have pulled up in front of you right now. You will see that we broke out for just the general fund the restricted revenues as well as the restricted expenditures aside from the unrestricted. So this gives a little bit of a clearer picture as to some of those unassigned or the unrestricted revenues and expenditures that you might see so you're excluding some of those one-time, either whether it be a levy adjustment to really is skewing the data to make it look like something that's not really happening because we do have restricted fund balance set aside to accommodate for some of those. So again, there's not a lot on here other than pointing your attention to that new schedule that is alarming or needs to be discussed. Everything is where it should be. Another thing to point out too is we think about December 31st as being halfway through the fiscal year. You might look at our expenditures and we've only spent about 38 to 39% of our budget. As a reminder, we have the majority of our staff and salaries and benefits make up about 80% of our budget, and the majority of our staff receive their first paycheck starting in September. So those who do receive either 9 months worth of pay or 12 months that start in September, they have not yet received 50% of those salaries and benefits. Therefore, we're not recording 50% of salaries and benefits. So just wanted to remind folks of that so you don't look at that to say, well, we're well on pace to be way under budget, because that's not quite the case based on how those salaries and benefits work. So the other thing, Amy, if I could have you scroll to the last page, that looks at our cash balances. We have started to see some of those interest rates dip a little bit, as would be expected. So we have actually begun some work on maybe looking at some other options for investing. As interest rates start to decrease, there are some opportunities to maybe lock into a current interest rate, which would allow us to maybe safeguard against some of those interest rate decreases for a short amount of time. So we have those conversations all the time with our banking partners. So just based on the current market activity, we do expect to see some of those things happening over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. So otherwise, there is no board action for this, but certainly open up for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Trevor. Any questions, comments on this? So I have a question, Trevor. So when you talk about banking partners, is that only MISLAF or does it include MISLAF? And
Yes, it does include MISLAF. So MISLAF is where our state aid payments are sent to. There are other investment options out there that we're starting to have conversations with too. So we would certainly look at a hybrid or a combination of multiple investment options out there. But yep.
Thank you. There are no other questions or comments. Can we move to the next item? You will seek a resolution relating to general obligation school building refunding bonds series 2026A.
Yeah, as Matthew Hammer from Ellers is joining me at the table. We'll give a brief introduction about this, and hopefully I do a good enough job, but we'll entertain some questions afterwards. But together, especially with the help of Ellers, our financial advisors, we as a district are constantly looking at ways to reduce future debt service obligations or debt service payments. And there are multiple ways to do that. One of the most common ways for school districts to do that is through a refunding of bonds, of existing bonds. And that's the most common way is if you have bonds that have maybe a higher interest rate than what current market activity might look like, you could go out and refund those bonds to achieve a lower interest rate where the full principal amount would remain, but the decreased interest rate would lessen those tax impacts through the course of the remaining lifetime of those bonds. We're here tonight because there is actually an opposite, not really an opposite, but a different method to look at this where the district does have bonds out there. We have bondholders that are currently holding on to some bonds for us that are the opposite, where they have a low interest rate. And while that is good news for our district, we're paying a very little interest on that. We do acknowledge that there are some bondholders that might be interested in getting out of those bonds. So for example, a bondholder might be holding on to a certain amount of assets in order to pay those bonds when they come due, but yet they are not accruing a lot of yield on those funds that they are holding. So they might look to get out of those existing bonds to be freed up to invest in a different manner, which they so choose. So we would like to look at an opportunity to what's called a tender offer, where we would invite them to basically allow us to sell bonds at a premium or at a discount to them. So what that might look like is in 2021, this is when the interest rates were really low. The district did have bonds that were sold in 2014 that we refinanced. We'll call it the normal way, where we then lessened or lowered the interest rates for the life of the bonds to decrease those interest payments. At that time, the principal interest was about $133 million. Over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, just based on principal and interest payments, that outstanding principal now sits at about $105 million. For the callable maturities with a date of February 1, 2029 and after, that is where we are seeing those low interest rates that range from 1.65% to 2.3%. Which again is great. But what this would look like is we would extend an offer, and it's all voluntary based on the bondholders. Some might choose not to do it, some might choose to do it. But we would basically allow them to let us sell new bonds to get them out of their existing bonds. So what that might look like is, let's just say we have 20% participation in this. So of our $105 million outstanding principal, if there's 20% participation, that's about $21 million that we might sell bonds for $19 million. So we're essentially selling bonds for $19 million to reduce the $21 million. Those would likely have a higher interest rate than what's currently on it. But when you look at the lifetime of the bonds and you combine the principal and interest payments together, it is a reduction in future debt service levies, which is the goal of this. So it's kind of a win-win. The banks are allowed, if they so choose, or the bondholders are allowed to get out of an investment that they might not currently like. And we are reducing our debt service payments for future bonds. It's one of those things that I've explained it to a few people, and it's not exactly like this, but usually when you think of a general or a normal refunding of bonds, it's like a remortgage of the house, where you are refinancing, where you go and get a lower interest rate. This might be a little bit different, where if somebody has a $400,000 principal remaining on their mortgage, we would offer to the bank to say, hey, we'll give you $350,000 at a higher interest rate to basically get out of that mortgage, and then these bondholders might like to do that. So I know that's a lot to talk about, a lot to take in, but just remember the bottom line here is it feels like a great opportunity to allow some bondholders to maybe get out of some bonds that they might not like. And it would allow the district to lower future debt service payments, which is always a good thing because that is paid for by our taxpayers, and that would lower their future tax burden in the future. So I know that was a lot. Sorry about that. Matthew, I'll see if there's anything I missed, and otherwise we can certainly entertain any questions as well.
Good evening. Matt Hammer, District's Financial Advisor. You hit on most of the points. I think one of the main points in this is the bondholders kind of hold the cards from the standpoint it's going to be a voluntary tender offer. But with that said, the district isn't obligated to move forward with the refunding unless participation is at a level that makes sense for us to move forward with. So our objective is to lower the overall cost for property owners as part of this process, and where we're at with current market conditions, this opportunity from what bondholders, as they hold their assets right now in their portfolios, might be interested to get out of those low yielding investments and invest in something else and take their cash elsewhere. And for us, what that means is we're really, in essence, really just being able to, in essence, buy those bonds at a discount and take the savings for our property owners. The other piece is we still hold those low interest rates with the other bonds. So whatever is not tendered, if nothing's tendered, we still pay at low rates. If we do get 20% participation, we still keep the other 84 million at those low interest rates. So really, it's an opportunity for us to explore. And from the timeline perspective, we're looking to open up that tender window in mid-March, and then our anticipated sale date or pricing date for the new bonds would be early April, and then the board would be looking at taking action possibly in April, depending on what kind of interest we get. So we'll have updates over the next month in that regard.
And I think that level of interest that we get in this will depend on the actual savings that are recognized. So if we were to get a 20% participation rate, we use that as an example, we would save right around $1.2 million for the life of the remaining bonds. If the participation rate creeps up to 30%, that creeps up more to about $2 million in savings. So again, it's all relative based on that. So there are still some factors that we will look at to see if it makes sense for the district to go forward or not.
So I'm going to read the recommended action. It's a long one, so just be patient. Recommended action is to approve a resolution relating to general obligation school building refunding bonds, Series 2026A, authorizing the issuance and authorizing the superintendent or executive director of finance and operations and any board officer to award the sale thereof and to take such action and execute all documents necessary to accomplish said award and sale, authorizing the issuance and sale thereof and providing for credit enhancement with respect thereto. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
And again, I know we discussed this at length, but just for some of our board colleagues here and for community, just wanted to clarify. So again, Really great idea. I think it's a good way to look at the current market conditions, where the rates are, and see where we can save money. So definitely that makes sense. And again, we're not making final decisions here, right? Today's approval is just for us to get started on the process, understand what the participation is, submit those tenders, if you will. So we will have an opportunity again, based on the responses, how the underwriting will be done. There will be a step 2 for board to review and approve if it makes sense. So is that fair? So again, just for board colleagues, this is not the final sale and done deal. This is just a step 1 for us to do that assessment. And again, there will be some minimal cost, but looking at the opportunity, it makes sense for us to invest and at least assess this option, if you will.
And maybe one thing to add to that too is, as we realize that getting 100% participation is not likely, it's not realistic. So there will be existing bonds remaining on the initial Series 2021A. Those are still callable in February of 2029. So at that time, we could still yet look to see if a refunding might make sense at that time, which with the interest rates on these bonds are at, that's not likely. So for these bonds, this is actually the better option. You don't see a lot of low interest rate bonds that actually have an opportunity to save taxpayer dollars, which is why we're bringing this one to the table, as it's a little bit of a different model than what you might normally see, but still accomplishes the same goal over time.
Yeah, sure.
It sounds like there's a certain threshold where it will make sense for the district to do it. And underneath that threshold, like we wouldn't do it, was it 20%? And there would be like an understanding of the people who said they would be interested, that if we didn't hit that threshold, like it's not going to happen. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, and you'll see in the resolution, in essence, says that we aren't able to move forward unless we create savings, right? That's the basis of the parameters that are set out. And really, the threshold is going to depend on which maturities too. It's not just 20% across the board participation, because if we get 10% participation on the out year yielding maturities like 2036, those are going to offer more savings than if we do 10% of the 2027 maturity, for example. So it's really going to depend on a lot of factors. And really the main point of what we want to do is be able to go present this out to the markets. We don't know who those bondholders are at this point in time, understand who they are, and then be able to come back and see, based on who they are, what their interest is, how much we potentially could save as part of this deal. So the parameters that are set forth in the resolution, we're not moving forward unless we create savings, right? And we're not bound to move forward with the bonds.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank you for bringing this entire presentation to the Finance Committee of the board last week. We dug into it in quite lengthy depth, and it was our recommendation at that point that we move forward with this, board colleagues. I just want to say, so I'll echo what Paris said, and also that I'm appreciative that our partners and our finance department are always looking for ways to not leave a penny on the table for our taxpayers. And this is exactly what this is. So this is really in hopes it would be a win for our bondholders, but most importantly, it would be a win for our taxpayers. And that's really, really important. So thank you for doing the work of this. I know it can be a little bit of a hassle, but we appreciate that very much.
Okay. A part of my first question, I think, was asked by Sheila, but I'm going to add on to that. So there is a threshold. We have expenses, right? Obviously, we pay elders. They don't work for us for free. So we pay them. And so there are some expenses that are incurred when we do all these transactions. So maybe you don't have the exact number, but do you have an idea of what % of the bondholders would need to be agreeable to this offer for us to even break even? What kind of expenses are we looking at?
from the exposure from the tender offering piece, there is a fee of around $10,000, right, to just do the exploration, right? Based on that, if we don't find any participation at levels that are going to meet the needs to move forward, that's really our exposure. And then there's no other out-of-pocket costs to the district.
Okay. So
And
minimum-
those funds would come out of your debt service funds right now, so that wouldn't be a general fund exposure.
So at the most, if we don't do anything, about $10,000 is the cost for us. Okay.
Yeah.
Second question I have is this resolution, if passed tonight, is this a continuous approval for, let's say, sometime in next year? We will have to do this again, right? Then?
Yeah, it gets the expiration on is June 30th of 26.
Okay, so it does have an expiration.
Yeah, it's got an expiration.
All right, thank you. I don't have any more questions. Chase, go ahead.
Yeah, I might just offer too, I would imagine part of the reason you're here tonight presenting this is that conditions would seem such that it would be likely that it would be conducive for the district and for the bondholders to move forward with making this type of a recommendation to explore it. Would that be an accurate statement?
That's an accurate statement, right? So we're anticipating we're going to be able to generate savings. Otherwise, we wouldn't have brought this forward. With that said, we don't have control over what the bondholders do because they're in control, right? But based on what we're seeing in market conditions from the standpoint of what they're holding from a taxable yield versus what the markets present right now from a taxable yield, there's a pretty decent spread, right? So it'll come down to whether their cash to them is better served somewhere else, right? Whether they would want to take that discount we're in essence offering them to move cash somewhere else.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to read that recommendation again. Is to approve a resolution relating to general obligation school building refunding bonds, Series 2026A, authorizing the issuance and authorizing the superintendent or executive director of finance and operations and any board officer to award the sale thereof and to take such action and execute all documents necessary to accomplish said award and sale, authorizing the issuance and sale thereof, and providing for credit enhancement with respect thereto. This is a roll call vote.
Colleagues, Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Millen Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you again, Trevor and Matthew.
Thank you.
Okay. Finally, for admin reports, Executive Director of HR, Dave Lutz, will seek a resolution on the approval of the 2026 pay equity implementation. Dave.
Thank you, Board Chair Sahoni, Superintendent Anderson, members of the board. This one's a quick one, so I'll present from here if that works. So I put before you, as required by Minnesota State statute, pay equity implementation report that we submit to the Department of Employee Relations once every 3 years. And so once approved, a copy of the report is sent to each exclusive representative and also the public library. The compliance report that's provided in front of you demonstrates that we have passed this statistical analysis test. In short, what the pay equity report does is it classifies our positions as either a male or a female or a balanced class position, depending on the number of employees that are in each position. And then it completes 3 different statistical tests. One is a payment test, so looking at the rate of pay for each of those positions. The next is a salary range test, which looks at the number of years that an individual in that position would take for them to get to the maximum pay level of that position. And then the last test is an exceptional service pay test, which is looking at the longevity component to that position. So is there any pay in addition to the base, or is there longevity language articulated with that position? So we did pass the compliance report, and we used a third-party consultant, Kathleen Murphy with Murphy Management Consultants, and she's kind of the expert here with many districts. She does pay equity reports for a number of districts. So we have passed that report. I did do a study of some past reports today, looking back to 1997, and these statistics, just because I was curious, seem to align generally with what you see in other years. So this is good news that we passed this test. We wouldn't have another one now until 2029. So there is an action. The board does need to approve the pay equity implementation report, which is the motion I'll allow you to read. And at this time, I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Dave. So the recommended action is for the school board to approve the 2026 pay equity implementation report. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second. Moved and seconded. Thank you. Is there a discussion? Yeah.
So I'll simply note, thank you for bringing this to the HR committee of the board last week. We had an opportunity to review it in pretty in-depth way, and makes sense to us. And so we're moving forward as recommended with the approval of the report.
All right. If there is no other comments, again, the recommended action is to approve the 2026 pay equity implementation report. This is a roll call vote.
Colleagues, Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Millen Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, Dan. There is no board action this evening, and the final item on the agenda is board reports. This section of the agenda provides an opportunity for board members to update school board members on school board related work or to make announcements of interest to the public. Today we have 3 board reports. Dan, Alicia, and I will present a report on our attendance at the MSBA Leadership Conference. And I will go first, because I have to introduce what MSBA is, first of all. The Minnesota School Boards Association, also known as MSBA, is a private nonprofit organization founded in 1920. As a leading advocate for public education, it supports, promotes, and strengthens the work of Minnesota school boards in the areas of governance, management, finance, communications, policy, legal matters, elections, and advocacy. MSBA provides workshops, resources, services, and connections designed to help boards save time, reduce expenses, govern efficiently, and stay inspired. Every year, MSBA hosts a leadership conference in January. This year, it was held on January 15th and 16th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Board members Ginestra, Little, and I were able to attend. The conference featured nationally recognized speakers, workshops, an exhibit hall, a school excellence showcase, and an awards banquet dinner. MDE Commissioner Willie Jett welcomed attendees. As the MSBA board director from District 4, representing 15 school districts from the West Metro, I presided over a discussion with my director district school board members. At that time, I was also re-elected for a second 3-year term on the MSBA board. I also hosted 3 workshops: strategic planning, diversity in public education leadership, and creating safer schools. I have found the conferences to be extremely valuable and a time to learn from board members around the state. Dan will go next, followed by Alicia. Dan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I also had the privilege of attending the MSBA conference. It was absolutely fantastic, from the featured speakers as well as the awards banquet. I also attended some of the workshops, one of them being strategic planning points to point your school in the right direction. That was absolutely wonderful, understanding the why for strategic planning, a history of it, and really understanding that governance versus management dynamic as school districts do strategic planning. An additional piece was a report from the government relations team. Denise Dietrichson providing a wonderful overview of what kinds of positions are going to be featured in the MSBA platform in the new legislative session. So a lot of really fantastic stuff going on at the conference. It was a joy walking around and meeting so many folks in the process. So I'm grateful to MSBA for hosting such a wonderful event, and I look forward to attending in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Alicia? Yeah.
Okay, I brought my new kid energy. I started off before you guys, actually. I went to the Phase 3 workshop on Wednesday, which was super fun. Met a great group, especially from Austin, Minnesota. Their entire board and their superintendent was there, and I got to run into them throughout the rest of the week, which was really nice. I did all the things. I tried to get a good variety. So I'll just tell you what I did, and if you're interested, you can come to me for more information. So I'm not even going to touch Robert's rules. Amy was there. She knows all the things. I think she knew more things than the presenter. But it was really neat. There was a student parliamentarian team that was basically working through some of the scenarios. And I've got my book at home. I'm trying to read it. I got a little note card from them with my rules, but it's still a little overwhelming to do all the rules up here. So that was helpful. I did a how to avoid costly open meeting law and data practices mistakes. That was given by a labor and employment law attorney group. And I was actually happy to report that I've been pretty well trained so far about what to do. So that was helpful. I attended, I don't know if anyone has heard, there's a lot of acronyms here, but the integration of MNMTSS, which is the Minnesota Multi-Tiered System of Supports, and BAR, which is Building Assets, Reducing Risks. And this was presented by Austin Public Schools. They were talking about how they were marrying the two and implementing it primarily at the middle school level and all the successes they were having with that. So that was really informative. I attended board superintendent relations just to get a little bit of a overview on contracts, conduct and communication, strategic plans, open meeting law again, and performance evaluations, which I know we'll be using in the future here and I will learn more about. And then I jumped in on the MSBA's new school board handbook template and was happy to share what we've been working through. I know I'm brand new here, but I know that we're also working on our own school board handbook, and there were a few people at the table, and I was actually able to give them some insight as to how we have been adopting that. And then actually I ended with the best practices for handling the rise of generative AI in the school setting. And this one was unique because it was presented again by lawyers, and my biggest takeaway from that is I'm not maybe using AI as much as I should be or could be, but to keep in mind, we're focusing on our students a lot, but especially as staff and board members, to be really thoughtful if you're ever using AI to respond to emails that we're getting from community members or from parents, making sure anytime you're inputting student data or information that is in the AI bubble. And so you can get into some legal consequences if you ever are issued a data request and you're not able to clearly explain what you were intending by the response that you sent. So that was my biggest takeaway. If you need to know more, we can talk all about it. I've got lots of handouts. So it was really fun. I definitely will go again. I was not able to do the fun dueling piano situation because I had to go home and mom, but maybe next year I'll make it more of a fun. I hope more of us can attend next year.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Alicia. Board members, any comments, questions? And you feel free to talk to any of us about our experiences afterwards. Yeah, if you want. Go ahead. Any questions?
No, I couldn't attend this year, but last 2 years I attended, and Alicia, wholeheartedly, it is really the best forum, especially if you are new to the board, just socializing with other board members throughout the state, even superintendent. It's a great experience. I've observed the speakers are really great. They come with data points which are relevant to us and obviously the student outcome. So overall, I've seen that being organized and executed really well. So yeah, hopefully next year I'll make it too.
Yes, thank you.
I was just going to add, I think it was really nice to meet with various board members that are coming from so many walks of life and, small towns from all aspects of Minnesota, and to hear the different perspectives and issues that different districts are dealing with. There's some that, we maybe can't relate to quite as much, but there's others that it's the same, even if you're in a small town Minnesota, same things here. So all in all, the collaboration felt really nice.
All right, thank you so much. So I guess this concludes the Wayzata Public Schools regular board meeting. Next board work session will be on February 23rd at 4 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion carries. The time is now 8:20. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, February 9th, 2026 is adjourned.